Why do we even pay taxes? Every month, people go to work. They wake up early, sit in traffic, deal with annoying customers, rude managers, and boring meetings. And when payday finally comes, they check their bank account and realize part of their money is missing, gone. Just like that. It didn't get stolen. It wasn't lost. It went to something called taxes. Now nobody likes that word. It sounds heavy, boring, complicated, but taxes are everywhere. You pay them when you work. You pay them when you buy food. You even pay them when you die. No joke. There's a death tax. But here's the thing. Taxes aren't just some evil invention to make you poor. Taxes are the money that keeps your country running. Roads, schools, hospitals, police, firefighters, clean water, electricity, all of it is funded by taxes. So, in theory, taxes are a good idea. Everyone gives a little, and we all benefit. But if you ask most people today, they'll tell you something's wrong. Very wrong. Why? Because many people feel like they're paying more and more, but getting less and less. The roads have potholes. The hospitals are full. The schools are underfunded, and don't even ask about public transport. It's a nightmare in most places. So where's the money going? In countries like the US, over 150 million people pay federal income taxes. That's trillions of dollars every year. And still, some cities look like war zones. Some communities have no clean water. Teachers buy their own classroom supplies. Veterans sleep on the street. And politicians, they promise everything before elections and then somehow forget it all afterward. It starts to feel like a scam. Worse, some of the richest people and biggest companies in the world pay almost nothing in taxes. Billion-dollar companies hire lawyers to hide profits in tax havens. Meanwhile, regular people working 2 jobs still get taxed on every paycheck. It's like the system is built to reward the rich and punish the rest. People aren't angry about paying taxes. They're angry that they're the only ones paying, and that's where the trust breaks. If you're working hard, paying your share, and you still can't afford a doctor or send your kid to college, you start asking questions. And the biggest one is, where does my money actually go? How governments spend your tax money. Let's zoom out. Every year, governments collect money from people through taxes. In 2024, the US federal government alone is expected to collect around $4.8 trillion. That's how much we're talking about. So, how do they spend all that money? Let's break it down like a pie chart. If you paid $1,000 in taxes, here's roughly where it goes. $240 goes to Social Security. This pays benefits to retired workers, disabled people, and survivors. $220 goes to Medicare and Medicaid, which helps cover health care for seniors, low-income families, and people with disabilities. $170 goes to the military, tanks, jets, soldiers, weapons, bases around the world. $100 goes to interest on the national debt. Yes, we're paying just to keep up with past borrowing. The rest? It's split between education, infrastructure, public safety, disaster relief, science programs, environmental protection, food stamps, and more. Sounds fair, right? Well, not always. For example, $850 billion went to the military in 2023. That's more than the next 10 countries combined. Some of that spending makes sense. Defense is important, but a lot of it goes to contractors, private companies, and weapons we never use. Meanwhile, public schools in poor areas have broken windows and no textbooks, and interest payments. We're spending more than $650 billion this year just to cover old debt. That's money that's not building anything. It's just disappearing, like paying rent on a house you don't even live in. Even healthcare is a mess. America spends more on healthcare than any other country, yet millions still go bankrupt from medical bills. That's like buying the most expensive phone every year and still getting no signal. Other countries manage it better. In places like Sweden or Germany, people pay more in taxes, but they also get free healthcare, free university, great trains, and safe neighborhoods. It's not perfect, but at least they get something real in return. The problem isn't always the amount of money collected. it's how it's spent. Sometimes, politicians push expensive programs just to win votes. Sometimes they cut taxes for the rich, then say there's no money left for schools. And sometimes, money gets lost in bureaucracy, or worse, corruption. In the end, the system only works if it's fair and transparent. If you can see where your money is going and feel the benefit, you're more likely to trust it. But if all you see is your taxes rising and your services shrinking, you start to feel like the government is playing a game and you're losing. What you actually pay now. Let's talk about you. Because when we talk about taxes, it's easy to think it's just something governments deal with. But the truth is, taxes affect every part of your daily life, even when you don't realize it. Let's start with your paycheck. You work 40 hours a week. You clock in, you work hard, you go home. You expect to get paid, but when the money lands in your bank account, it's smaller than you thought. That's because of something called income tax. If you live in a place like the US, Canada, or the UK, you'll notice something called withholding. That's money taken before you even see it. It goes to pay for government programs like Social Security, Medicare, unemployment insurance, and sometimes your local schools or hospitals. And that's just the start. Then you've got payroll tax, which is a separate bite. It helps fund things like retirement systems. And if you're self-employed, you pay both halves of it. Basically, the government says, nice job working for yourself. Here's double the tax bill, but it doesn't stop at your salary. Bought a burger? That's taxed. Filled your gas tank? Taxed. Bought shoes, soap, or a school backpack? You guessed it, taxed. This is called sales tax, or VAT, value-added tax. And while it sounds small, like 5% or 15%, it adds up fast. Poor and middle-income families often pay a larger percentage of their income this way. Why? Because they spend most of their money just to survive. And then there are the hidden taxes. Phone bills? Taxed. Electricity? Taxed. Airline tickets? Taxed. Alcohol and cigarettes? Taxed heavily. These are called sin taxes. Own a house? You pay property tax every year just for owning it. Sell the house? You might owe capital gains tax. Die owning the house? Your family could owe inheritance tax. Basically, there's a tax for everything. Working, spending, saving, dying. It's like a video game where the government always has the high score. And here's the worst part. While you're paying all these taxes, the richest people and companies are often paying way less. Amazon, for example, paid 0 federal income tax in the US for several years, even while making billions in profit. How? Loopholes, tax credits, offshore accounts, entire teams of lawyers and accountants who find ways to pay nothing, legally. Meanwhile, regular people are scared to file taxes late because they might get fined. So when you hear people say, the system is rigged, this is what they mean. Not that taxes are bad, but that they hit the poor harder and let the rich off the hook. Do you get your money's worth? And why some countries do it better? Let's ask a simple question. Are you getting your money's worth? You work, you pay taxes, and in return, the government is supposed to provide services. That's the deal. So what are you getting? In some places, like Norway, Sweden, or the Netherlands, you pay high taxes, but you get a lot. Free healthcare, free university, childcare support, long parental leave, clean streets, safe public transport. And if you lose your job, you don't end up homeless. So people don't mind paying taxes because they actually see the benefit. It's like buying a $50 steak and getting a $50 steak. Now compare that to countries where the taxes might be lower, but the services are a mess. Hospitals are overcrowded. College is expensive. Roads are broken. Police are underfunded. Rent is sky high. And worst of all, when a disaster hits, like a flood or a pandemic, people are left on their own. It starts to feel like you're paying for a first-class seat and getting economy service. Or worse, you're paying for a ticket and getting kicked off the bus. And here's the big difference. It's not just how much a country taxes, it's how well it spends. When money is spent wisely, on good schools, safe infrastructure, healthcare that actually works, people feel secure. They trust the system. They feel proud to contribute. But when money is wasted on political favors, luxury offices, or billion-dollar contracts for projects that never finish, people lose faith. They think, why should I pay more when the money just disappears? That's why transparency matters. In many developed countries, you can go online and see exactly where your tax money goes. Conclusion. So, what now? So now you know, taxes aren't just numbers on your paycheck. They're the fuel that runs your country. They build the hospitals your family goes to, the roads you drive on, the schools your kids attend, and the safety nets that catch people when life falls apart. But when the system feels broken, when the rich dodge taxes, when the services don't work, when the government wastes your money, it's normal to feel angry because you're holding up your side of the deal. But the other side isn't delivering. Here's the truth. Taxes can be a good thing. They should be a good thing, but only if they're fair, only if they're used wisely, only if everyone, rich or poor, pays their share. And only if people like you keep asking, where is the money going? And why isn't it working better? Because at the end of the day, your taxes aren't just money, they're power. And if enough people understand that, maybe the system starts to work again.